Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to welcome you all on this amazing platform called Unacademy, India's largest online learning platform for the preparation of various competitive exams. My name is Neelam Malkani, and I'm going to be your guide and facilitator for CAT and other management exams. On this channel, I have started taking a series of vocabulary building sessions. So we started with root technique for vocabulary building. Then we had a lot of words. We learned a lot of words with pictures, with different images. We associated some words with those pictures and we learned their meaning and their usage. Then I had a session on current affairs, through which I taught you some of the words, right, which were related with those issues, those contemporary news items. Yesterday, I took a session of vocabulary building through theme. I took the theme of travel, and with that, we learned a lot of interesting words to explain and talk about traveling. Today, I'm live again with one more session on vocabulary building with theme. Today, I've taken the theme of food and drink. So with that, we will learn a lot of words which are going to relate it with theme, and the words are going to give you a lot of confidence to speak and talk on this issue, right? Before that, let me give you a brief introduction of myself. My name is Neelam Malkani. I possess master's degree in English literature. I have been teaching students for CAT, GRE, GMAT, IELTS, TOEFL and CLAT for last 12 years. My expertise have been English and verbal reasoning. I have also designed and set assessment papers of English and reasoning for various governing bodies as well as professional bodies or different states. I have also served as an examiner of English for an international organization. Recently, I have authored a comprehensive book of English for the preparation of competitive exams. Now, this video is brought to you by Unacademy. So let me take you on its platform and tell you step by step how you can be part of this. First, you have to go in the Play Store and download Unacademy Learning app. After downloading the app and filling in all the details, you will be shown 3 categories, plus free courses and special classes. Since you want to attend classes for CAT and management courses, you have to go in the category of plus. Once you go in that, you will be shown all the courses which are delivered or which are offered under the category of plus, such as CAT, GRE, IELTS and other courses. When you opt for CAT, you will be shown all the features that you will be getting after availing this course. 30 hours of live session every day. These sessions are delivered by prominent faculties of their respective fields. Faculty members who are top educators in their own domain and who possess wealth of experience of mentoring, guiding students in their respective areas. The courses which are delivered are well designed, well structured, specially designed by those people who have experience of curriculum and module designing. As per your convenience, as per your availability, as per your suitability, you can choose the course, you can choose the educator and enroll yourself, right? Every month, a new course is launched as per the change in the pattern of exam, as per the new requirement of a specific exam. New course is launched every month, right? Once you go for the subscription, you will be shown all the modules of subscription for 1 month, for 3 months, for 6 months, for yearly subscription and for 2-year subscription. So if you are specifically targeting 2020, CAT 2020 and other management exams, you can go for 1, 2 or 3 months subscription. If you're targeting 2020 CAT, 21 CAT, you can go for yearly subscription, right? So all these subscriptions are very economical and cost effective, right? So you're going to get you are going to be taught by top educators of India in such an economical price, right? If you want to avail 10% further discount, you have to type code Neelam, right? So whichever model of subscription you choose, if you type this code, you will be able to get 10% further discount, right? Now, a very important information national scholarship test, which is being conducted by Unacademy for those students who are targeting CAT 2020. The scholarship test design is based on the recent development and the changes which have been introduced in CAT 2020, right? And it is going to be a sectional test. All three sectional tests, which are the part of CAT, will be there, right? And the tests are designed by the faculty of these respective areas. So LR test is designed by the faculty who has been teaching LR for a long time. You will be given detailed analysis of the test the day you take the exam. First you get the score, you get to know about your All India ranking, and the same day you will also get to know about the detailed analysis of your own section as well as entire test by the faculty members only, right? So it's going to have three benefits. One, you will get to know about your preparedness of this exam, so how much prepared you are for this exam for this year, right? So after getting your score, you will have crystal clarity about your preparedness. Second, you will also get to know about your position vis-a-vis a person who is taking exam in other city, right? Because the exam is going to be on all India level, and your ranking and your percentile will be decided on all India level. So if you take a mock which is local, which is conducted by an institute that you are part of locally, that does not reflect your standing in terms of all India ranking, right? So this test is going to give you all India ranking. Third, you will be given detailed analysis. So if you have to tweak your strategy a bit, or if you have to fine tune your strategy for a specific section, for a specific topic, you will also have the time to do that, because in the detailed analysis, you will be told which question should have been taken by which strategy or by which method, right? So with this detailed analysis, you will have crystal clarity about your strategy, own strategy. What more? If you secure top 50 position, right? So if you excel in the exam, if you are one of the top scorers, you stand a chance of winning Amazon vouchers of 5,000, 3,000 and 2,000, right? So take this test, enroll yourself, take the test, attend the analysis, get to know about your All India ranking as well as your section score, and then be ready to take this exam. Okay, so let's get started with today's session. As I said, I have taken the theme of food and drink. As the picture itself suggests, it perfectly sums up the theme of today, right? So food and wine. So without wasting any time, let's start with today's first word, right? So the first word, you can see the picture, you can see the picture of spices or other elements or other ingredients which are added in the food. The word is condiments, right? So the word condiment is used for a substance such as salt, pepper, or sauces which are added into food, cooked food, for enhancing the taste, for enhancing the flavor, right? So they are known as condiments, right? So hot condiments made from a variety of chili peppers, right? So when you go in a food joint, you order pizza, you are given those pouches of condiments, right? So if you want to add more salt, if you want to add more pepper, or if you want to add more chili peppers, you are given those small sachet of condiments, right? So they are called condiments. Anything which is added into the food to enhance taste, to enhance flavor, right? To enhance the flavor of food, or for example, salt or pepper. So you can see the example, all the mustard is grown for use as a condiment, right? So as condiment, that means mustard is used to enhance the taste of food or enhance the flavor of food. I thought they would add a little pepper to spices and other condiments. So here you can understand this word by example, that I thought they are going to add more condiments to enhance the food. So possibly the food was not really tasty or not possibly insipid, and that is why he needed more condiments to enhance the food. When you eat Chinese, so a platter of condiment is given to you. A platter of condiments, all the sauces. So they also serve the function of condiment, right? So if you find food tasteless, if you find bland, you can add those sauces to enhance the taste. All right? So I hope with this picture as well as with these sentences, it is clear what condiments mean. All right? Okay, so juicy mango, right? So when we see those adverts of maza or other fruity, where we are shown those juicy mangoes or juicy fruits, the word that perfectly sums up this kind of scene or this kind of fruit is succulent. So you often hear about succulent if you are a person who is fond of gardening. Succulent plants. So those succulent plants which retain a lot of water, right? Since they retain a lot of water, their leaves are thick and juicy, right? So succulent plants. So from that only you can understand this word defining those kind of fruits or those kind of food items which look savory, which look tasty, right? So succulent meat or succulent fruits is full of juice and something which tastes very nice, right? So that is succulent, containing a lot of juice and tasting good, right? A succulent stick or a succulent mango, having leaves and stem that are thick and contain a lot of water. As I explained to you, succulent also is used for those plants, small plants which are used for decoration, which are used for gardening, for beautifying a place. So succulent plants are those small plants which come in those small potted plants. The leaves are very thick, juicy, and hold a lot of water. So a plant such as cactus, in which the leaves and stem are thick and can store a lot of water, right? So succulent plants with that succulent fruit or succulent food, which appears to have a lot of juicy, item or juicy ingredient. All right. So succulent. Same. Another word which can be used instead of succulent is luscious, right? So here you can see strawberries and these grapes having a lot of juice, containing a lot of juicy substance, right? So in a way that is pleasantly sweet or contain a lot of juice is also luscious. So we had a lusciously creamy risotto. So here you can explain a risotto which is full of cream, all right? A large, lusciously ripe mango made a delicious breakfast. So this word being used instead of succulent for defining a mango which is full of juice, which is extremely juicy, right? So the meat was lusciously juicy and flavorsome, right? So meat which is full of those ingredients which made it flavory, which made it juicy, right? So it was marinated well, it had enough cream, it had all the ingredients mixed up quite well, it made it luscious, right? The grocery store tomatoes are often pale facsimiles of the lusciously sweet ones picked off the vine right before dinner. You can see here tomatoes which are shown in these adverts, which are shown in the pictures, especially those pictures which are used for the advertisements. They are luscious, right? So they are full of juice. Unlike those ones which are sold in the market, unlike those ones which are, which we get to buy in grocery market, right? The luscious tomato in farmer market, right? Because they are fresh, they are organic, and they are full of juice. All right. So succulent, luscious, defining fruit, vegetables, and the food items which are full of juice and watery substance. All right. Okay. I hope it's mouth-watering picture. It is for me, definitely. So the word is delectable, right? So anything which is delicious, which makes you want to eat then and there is delectable, right? So something which is garnished well, which is decorated quite well, which is full of condiments can be delectable, or anything which looks pleasant can also be delectable, right? So it is used for food items. It is also used for those items which look very attractive. A delectable painting, delectable surroundings, delectable dress, right? So anything can be delectable, which is fascinating, which is attractive, which soothes your eye, right? So delectable, one, used for food items. So let's understand very pleasant, especially to eat or drink, right? So extremely pleasant to taste, smell or look. So delicious, delectable smell of freshly baked bread. Right? So it makes my mouth water, right? So when I hear about freshly baked bread, so that's definitely going to be a delectable item to eat. So you want to consume it then and there, as in when it comes out of oven, you want to have it. So that is delectable item, right? The delectable chocolate truffles. So delectable is anything which looks very appetizing, which looks very delicious, and which tastes delicious, right? Now, the meaning that I told you of delectable is very attractive, right? So his delectable body, his delectable dress, right? So delectable will be synonymous with delightful. It is synonymous with scrumptious, right? So anything which is scrumptious, when you eat a piece of cake, so you find it scrumptious. So there are different ingredients which are savory, which are sweet, same time something which is a bit tangy. So overall it's scrumptious. Scrumptious is also something which is crumbles, right? So scrumptious is also another word which is used for delectable or anything which is delicious, right? So scrumptious delicacies made at the time of Diwali. So you get to eat a lot of different things at the time of Diwali. You get to eat a lot of sweet, you get to eat a lot of namkeen, which is made at home. So all these scrumptious items which are made at the time of festivals, different festivals, right? So these delicacies which are delectable. All right. So delicious, delightful, scrumptious. All three words coming for defining anything which is very tasty. Alright, so you have a man who is known for his culinary skills, his extraordinary skills of cooking food, judging food, giving tips about food, knowing a lot of things about food and vegetables, right? So Vikas Khanna, a gourmet. So a gourmet is a person who knows a lot about food and cooking, and a person who also enjoys eating high quality food, right? So the word is pronounced as gourmet. T is silent here, right? So gourmet, a chef, gourmet, right? So a person who knows a lot about food and drink. It is not necessarily is used only for chef. It can also be used for a person who knows a lot about food and drink, right? So I may not be a chef. I may not be discharging my duties as a chef in a hotel or in a restaurant, right? But I may have a great understanding of food items, ingredients, spices, vegetables, and how food is served and everything. I can also be a gourmet, right? So if you know anyone in your kith and kin or maybe in your surrounding who knows a lot about a lot of things about food items and cooking and things related with cooking, you can call him a gourmet, right? So in this lockdown period we see a lot of people posting their videos of cooking, making their indigenous recipes, and those people have actually attracted a lot of viewers. These women who made these videos became immensely popular um, in India, right? And a lot of people abroad also started following them, right? So they may not be chef, right? They may not be officially discharging their duties as a chef, but they may still be gourmet because they know a lot of things about food items, cooking style, and different cuisine, right? So gourmet can be any person who knows a lot of things about food and cooking, right? So gourmet. Now gourmet is a person, and gourmet can also be used for food, right? So gourmet dishes, a gourmet delicacies, a gourmet cup of coffee, right? So something which is very expensive and same time which is very delicious can also be used for gourmet. It's also an adjective, right? So when you talk about food which is gourmet, that means the food is very luxurious, the food is full of rich items. At the same time, food, gourmet is also used for a person, right? So both ways you can use this word, all right? I hope you can identify these men. They are prominently known in culinary sphere or domain for having keen sense of judgment, of understanding food, how it is presented, how it should be made, and what should be added more to make it more delectable, right? So you must have seen them on television, judging Australian chef, right? So Master Chef of Australia. So the same adaptation we had in India. Here we had this, Pankaj winning the trophy, or Pankaj winning the title, right? So Master Chef of India was adopted on Master Chef of Australia. So these three people are synonymous with that show because they are known for their culinary skills. Look at the word now. As we had gourmet, so we have epicure, right? So epicure, when you have Epicurean taste or when you have Epicurean flavor, so you have great understanding of food as well as other kinds of art, right? So food is also considered a kind of art, right? Because it ignites your senses, it soothes your senses, one of the important senses, right? So epicure is used for a person who is an expert of understanding art, right? So an Epicurean taste, if you have Epicurean taste, it may have for painting, it may have for music, it may have for food, right? So Epicurean has wide-ranging applicability. Gourmet is used only for food and drink. Epicure can be used for other spheres as well, right? So when you see a person who has great understanding of Karnataka music, right? He knows all the subtle differences in different kinds of music, and other things associated with music. So he can be an epicure of Carnatic music, right? Or if somebody has expertise of understanding what qualifies a Renaissance art, right? So that person can be an epicure of Renaissance art. What qualifies, what characteristics make an art, a piece of art, a Renaissance art, right? So that way the person can have understanding of any form of art, right? So let's now try to define the word. A person who enjoys food and drink of high quality and knows a lot about it, right? So high quality, luxurious living, and same time a person who has great understanding of food and drink. He was considered epicure, right? So here, now, with effort, she managed to swallow the first soothing mouthful and she sipped at the water as an epicure would savor a good wine. Very complicated sentence, yet I hope it clarified what Epicurean means. She was drinking water as an epicure would savor a good wine. So an epicure, when he drinks a glass of wine, he would try to take every flavor out of it, right? He would try to enjoy that drink so as to understand what it is made of, how good it is, what quality it contains, and everything, right? So to make a qualitative judgment of that drink, right? So she was drinking water as if an epicure would drink a glass of wine, right? So that way you can understand an epicure is going to be very sensible when he drinks something. He's not going to drink or he's not going to eat something insensibly or intemperately. He's going to be very wise when he eats or drinks something, right? I couldn't help but smile as Joe, an epicure of Italian descent, tried his first spoonful of soup. He's an epicure. He comes from Italy, right? So I was looking at him when he was trying first spoon of soup, right? So that way, what he's going to say, the person who was serving him that bowl of soup, it was, looking at him with anticipation that what he is going to say about the quality and the taste and the flavor of soup. All right. So that way, epicure is a person who is an expert of food and wine, but also has an expertise of judging other forms of art, right? The oyster is now a dish for the epicure and the lobster for the millionaire. So that way you can understand that it's always a rich item, an item which is not affordable for everyone, but rather it is something which is accessible to chosen few only, right? So epicure, gourmet. I hope the difference is clear. Epicure has wide-ranging applicability. It can be used for other food, other spheres. Okay, so the picture of gourmet, as I said, gourmet is a person as well as gourmet is also kind of food item which is usually expensive, right? So gourmet food, this joint offers gourmet food. That means the food which is exorbitant, the food which is full of rich items, right? A gourmet chef, a chef which you cannot find on your nook and corner, but rather a chef who offers very expensive dishes. A gourmet shop, a gourmet chocolate shop, right? So not ordinary chocolate, but those chocolates which are very expensive, same time which are which are rich in flavor and taste. Gourmet food is of very high quality. Alright, so gourmet person, gourmet food. Okay, so these are two very different words, right? So the genesis of the word is same, G-O-U-R, but the meaning is entirely different. So is spelling, so is pronunciation, right? So that was gourmet, this is gourmet. D is pronounced here, that's not silent, right? Now look at the picture first and then we will try to understand what it means, right? So you see a picture of a woman who is trying to gorge this entire piece of item, right? So she's possibly having a burger and she's trying to have it at one go, right? So gourmet partly explains what is explained by this picture, right? So a person who is excessively devoted to eating and drinking, intemperate desire to consume something, right? You have insatiable desire to eat, that is gourmet, right? So you cannot control, you have an excessive desire to have food, all right? So gourmet, unlike gourmet is a person who is going to consume everything. Gourmet is going to be very selective. He's going to have an exclusive taste when it comes to food and drink. The gourmet is going to eat everything, right? Because he has intemperate desire, intemperate urge to eat or consume. So a person who enjoys eating and eats large amount of food, right? So as the picture says, she wants to gorge it at one go, right? So you can see here, doctors struggled with cancer and other maladies in recent years, but as a dedicated gourmet, he insisted on continuing to go out to restaurant. Though he was suffering from cancer, a deadly disease, yet because he could not control his urge and desire to eat, good food as well as good food in large amount, he frequently visited restaurant nearby, right? So here you can understand the meaning of the word, starkly opposite, right? So don't confuse gourmet with gourmet. As I have been taking confusing words spare, right? So in those sessions which I took through pictures, through current affairs, through etymology, I time and again covered those words which are confusing. They are homonyms or they are homophones. So here gourmet and gourmet are also confusing because they sound same and they belong to same theme, that is food and drink. But the meaning is absolutely opposite, right? So this person is not selective in his food habits, is not temperate in his food habits, he eats too much. A gourmet is very, very selective and a person who knows a lot about food. Gourmet with that does not apply, right? Now with gourmet, the other extreme word which can come, if you talk about intensity or if you talk about degree, so the words are not exactly synonymous, right? So they are different in their degree, they are different in their intensity. So when I say gourmet and glutton, so the glutton is a word which comes on a higher degree. So glutton is a person who regularly eats and drinks more than needed, right? So that is glutton. So glutton is greed, right? Greed for eating, right? So glutton also comes from greed. So here glutton is used for a person who eats in excess amount, excessively, right? So a person who eats too much. So too much is never in restriction, too much is never in limit. It always crosses limit, right? Inordinate amount of food, right? A person who is foolishly, so that's a secondary meaning. Let's do some words with this meaning of glutton and then we will talk about the secondary meaning. So look at the sentence. Alright, so he is glutton for chocolates, right? So he is glutton for chocolate. That means when it comes to chocolate, he cannot control himself, and that's why he has, he has become so much obese. All right. So you can see the picture of a man who has a burger in his hand. He's already having one in his mouth, and he's still doesn't seem to be satisfied. His hunger is still not satiated. He still wants some more. And look at his face, look at his physique, right? He doesn't seem to be a person who is starving. He doesn't seem to be a person who is famished, but rather a person, who is chubby, who is on plus side. Yet he has this strong, he's craving for these burgers. So this is explaining what glutton is, what gluttony is. So gluttony is noun, glutton is a person, right? So glutton used for food habits which is intemperate. All right. Now look at another meaning of glutton. So when a person who is foolishly and repeatedly drawn to something that is harmful is also glutton. So when you are glutton for punishment, in school, we often have some classmates who repeatedly made a mistake and would call for punishment as if they wanted to be punished, as if they were desirous of getting punished by the teachers, right? That's how they became conspicuous. That's how they made their presence felt in the classroom, right? So that way, glutton for punishment, the phrase is used for those people who repeatedly do certain things that attract punishment or penalty, right? So a person who enjoys doing difficult or unpleasant tasks. So those students who did do certain things unpleasant or certain difficult things which attracted punishment or which attracted penalty from teachers. Being a glutton for punishment, I decided to climb all 3 peaks in one day. So that way, here the task was fairly challenging. The task was daunting. Yet I decided to undertake it. Yet I decided to devote myself to it, right? So the phrase which is beginning the sentence is being a glutton for punishment. That means being a person who asks for challenging things, being a person who asks for difficult things, right? Another sentence, she is a glutton for tough challenges, right? So if there is an easy path and if there is a tough path, she will always go for the path which is tough, which is challenging, which is going to, which is going to be a bit more daunting than the path she could have chosen, right? So she is a glutton for tough challenges because that possibly gives her adrenaline rush. So to his dying day, in spite of his busy workload, he was a glutton for work, right? So dying day, last day, in spite of his busy workload, right? Though he already was overloaded with a lot of work, he was a glutton for work. He needed more work to be given to him, to be assigned to him. All right. So here you can understand the glutton for punishment phrase. So this is used for those people who always ask for challenging work, those work which push them harder. All right. So glutton for greed for food. Okay, so glutton can also be used for greed, gluttony for money, gluttony for fame, gluttony for power, right? So that way this word is also used for strong urge, strong desire to do something. For gluttony of power, a lot of politicians go astray, right? So that way you can understand that because of their greed for power, they want to be in powerful position. They want to hold authority. And for that gluttony of power, they do a lot of wrongful things. All right? So glutton and gluttony. I hope with this picture, the word is clear, but besides food and drink, the word is also used in different contexts, right? I hope that is also clear. Okay. So look at this man. So possibly the word that you can remember that we just did in previous slide is gourmet, right? So he's possibly taking delight in taking the sip from his glass, right? So a glass of wine that he's tasting for deciding how qualitative it is and what shortfalls or shortcomings it has, and what or how it can be categorized or classified, right? So a lot of people serve as connoisseur. It's a French word which is used for those people who have expertise of judging food and wine, right? So an expert on matters involving the judgment of beauty, quality, or skills in art, food, or music, right? So as Epicure, this word is also applicable on other forms of art, right? As an Epicurean taste, if you have Epicurean taste, you can, it's a wide-ranging applicability. It has wide-ranging applicability. The same is this word, connoisseur. So a connoisseur of Italian painting. So a person who understands the characteristic of Italian paintings. This is a gift that any wine connoisseur would love, right? So here you can understand this word being applicable in terms of judging art, in terms of judging food and wine. The exhibition will be a delightful for the collectors and connoisseur of silver ornaments, right? So here comes another sphere of art, jewelry, right? Only the true connoisseur would tell the difference between these two wines. Now comes expertise of judging wine, right? So what should be the qualification? How qualitative they are. A person who has expertise, a person who has that kind of fine taste, a person who has that great understanding in detail to understand which wine has what characteristic and which wine has, does not have those characteristics. So this is one of those movies that will separate the casual moviegoers from the real connoisseur. Those people who actually understand the art of cinema. So this movie is going to separate those people who understand art from those people who are just movie buff because they want to get entertainment, right? So this way you can understand the difference between a connoisseur and a person who is merely watching movies for the purpose of entertainment. A great connoisseur of Japanese art, he was also a connoisseur of Renaissance art, right? So Epicure, connoisseur, exactly synonymous word, right? So as Epicure can be used for food and wine, so can connoisseur be. As Epicure can be used for art, music and other forms of art can can be connoisseur. Alright, she is a respected connoisseur and collector of modern sculpture. Alright, so remember the picture, as in when you come across this kind of picture, you can recall the meaning of this word, and then you can also use this word for those people who you feel have this great understanding of food and wine. Okay, so I've taken the perfect picture of a tangy fruit which is found in India, right? So in summer season we get to eat this fruit which is sharply caustic, right? Which is biting, at the same time flavorful, right? So tangy is anything which has a strong sharp taste or smell, or same time a flavorful taste. So refreshing tangy lemon flavor, right? So lemon can be salty, it can be caustic, same time it can also be flavorful, it can also be tasty, right? So she breathed in the crisp tangy air and realized that it was almost autumn. So here the word is used in a figurative way, right? Having a sharp pungent flavor. So pungent is another word which is used for anything which is salty, right? So the raspberry vinegar gives it the perfectly fruity touch, while the creaminess of the yogurt blends beautifully with the tangy lemon, right? So here you can see this use being applicable in the sentence. In food, it is used to provide a tangy taste by acidifying foods and drink, right? So this word coming for those fruit items, especially fruits, which have pungent flavor, which have pungent taste, caustic, bitter, but same time tasty. All right. Okay. So we have the picture of a delectable plate of pasta. So delectable, something which is very, very delicious, delightful, right? Another word that can be used for tasty and delectable and scrumptious is toothsome. All right. For those who like their bread all crust, it is specially toothsome. It is specially toothsome. That means it's going to be tasty for them. All right. So toothsome is anything which is tasty, delicious, mouth-watering. What about biscuits? So light, fragrant, and toothsome that the butter is glad to meet them. Right? So you see the beauty of this sentence, that butter is glad to meet them. They are so tasty, they are so toothsome that butter is glad to meet them. Right? So toothsome. The pastry is fresh and flaky. The cakes delicate and toothsome. So you can see this word coming as a synonym of delicious, delectable, and scrumptious. Alright? So you have a couple of words to explain, to describe different kinds of food your mother cooks, or some other people who cook in your family, to give these adjectives to them, to use these superlatives to appreciate them, to praise their style of cooking, right? So instead of saying it's delicious, now replace this word with toothsome, right? So it was a toothsome pastry, it was a toothsome cake, right? So when your mother cooks cake, use this word to praise her so that she feels good about it, and same time you use this word in your active vocabulary, right? So that is how you can bring these words in your active vocabulary. One, you start using them in your conversations, and then as and when you write something about food or you write something about cooking, you start using them in your writing, in your productive skills of speaking and writing, right? And with that, whenever you come across these words, they won't be alien for you, right? So I hope you are going to pay this compliment to whoever cooks food in your family, a delectable dal, maybe a delectable bowl of dal, delectable pulao, or scrumptious cake, right? So use these words from today itself. Okay, so we have the picture of this poor monkey who is eating banana. He's trying to peel that banana in order to eat it, right? So he's trying to assuage his hunger, right? He's trying to pacify his hunger, right? So assuage is to lessen the intensity or to mitigate or relieve some emotions like hunger, pain, fear, right? So when you try to assuage it, that means you try to relieve that pain, you try to relieve that uncomfortable feeling. All right, so that is assuage. Assuage can be usually used for hunger. When you assuage your hunger, that means you're hungry and you eat something to relieve that feeling, right? To make an unpleasant feeling less severe, right? So that is assuage. Though it can be used for hunger, it can also be used in other contexts, right? So his reply did nothing to assuage my suspicion. That means I was extremely doubtful and I had a lot of apprehensions. He tried to comfort me, but nothing he said assuaged my suspicion. That means whatever he said to comfort me did not dispel my suspicion. That means I was still skeptical about what I was skeptical about earlier, right? So that way you can understand assuage. To assuage your guilt, to assuage your fear. You do something to assuage your fear, that means you're fearful, you are frightened of something. At the same time, you do something to relieve your fear, right? To lessen the intensity of your fear. That's one of the emotions. Make unpleasant feeling less strong. So the government has tried to assuage the public's fear, right? So we see our Prime Minister coming on national television again and again to address entire nation. He wanted to assuage the apprehension of common men. People had a lot of misguided information through different sources. People were frightened of another lockdown or maybe the economic implication. So he time and again came on national television, addressed the nation, trying to assuage the fear of common men, assuage the fear of people, right? So assuage is to relieve, to calm someone down. Politicians sought to assuage those feelings with a range of new anti-crime measures, right? So there is a lot of protest, maybe because a brutal crime was committed or a heinous crime was committed. So a lot of people are protesting, a lot of people are demonstrating. So in order to assuage that protest, in order to assuage people's anger, government came up with a lot of anti-crime measures. The government came up with new law which is going to address this situation or this issue in order to assuage people's anger. All right, so I hope now you understand this word very clearly, that it first comes for your biological feelings, your biological your feelings, or your especially hunger, emotion, or pain, right? So when you assuage, so that means your main biological feelings are going to be assuaged. That means they are going to be relieved, they are going to be lessened. And second way, it can be used in a figurative way when people emotion can be addressed, right? So that way assuage can be used in two ways. Now assuage hunger, right? So when you see the collocation, so that you assuage hunger, you quench your thirst, right? So thirst, that means another bodily feeling. So here, to satisfy, especially in actual or figurative thirst. So it is used for both ways. As assuage is used in a both way, Same is quench, right? So quench your thirst. 1 is to when you feel thirsty, you eat something potable so that it can quench your thirst, right? So drinking to quench thirst is usually a good guide to prevent dehydration, right? So you quench your thirst and you stop your body from getting dehydrated, right? Because it is hydrated. You have taken enough water. To quench your thirst, you drink a lot of water and other beverages, right? So first meaning of this word is to satisfy your thirst by eating something potable. Second meaning of this word is used for extinguishing or putting something out. Fire, right? So if there is a fire, if there is inferno, you put it out. That means you quench it by putting water into it. So you can see some sentences. You can't quench and suppress the human spirit and the desire for freedom forever. That means you cannot suppress, you cannot subdue, right? So here the word is used in a figurative way. So if people have this natural intrinsic desire to be free, intrinsic desire to be liberated, you cannot quench it, right? You cannot quench it forever. So that means आप इसको दबा नहीं सकते हैं. You can see another sentence, to stop a fire from burning. So that is, firemen tried to quench the flames raging through the building, right? The building was on fire and the flames were raging. It was huge inferno. So the firemen did everything possible to quench the flames, right? So by using all the tools he had at his disposal, he tried to quench the flames. All right. So quench used in 3 ways. 1, you quench your thirst. Then quench is to subdue, किसी चीज को दबाना, किसी चीज को suppress करना. So a lot of dictators try to quench the protest in their own respective country, in their own countries, because those protesters pose a great challenge to their authority or to their position, right? So their government can be subverted, their position can be subverted if they let these protesters protest, right? So that way they try to quench their protest, all right? A lot of people who voice their opinion against government, their voice is also quenched, right? By imposing sedition charges on them, by trolling them, or by doing certain other things, government tries to quench their voice. So here the word is used in a figurative sense. Another meaning of quench is used for stopping a fire, extinguishing a fire, right? All right, so 3 meaning, but basically since we are doing the word in a theme way, in a thematic way, so here food and wine, say if we see the meaning coming here, so that is to quench your thirst, right? So assuage your hunger, you quench your thirst, right? So I hope this picture brings a smile on your face. You see a lot of fruit, and especially succulent fruit, full of juices, nutrition, and same time tasty food, right? And you see a hollow cone here, right? So a hollow cone which is full of all these fruits, which is filled with all these fruit items, right? So cornucopia is abundance of food, abundant supply of food or food items, right? So cornucopia is used that way, but it is also used in other ways. So let's try to understand first its actual meaning. So hollow horn or a cone shaped object filled with edible or useful things, right? So in Western culture, this is a custom that in the area where these fruits and other vegetables and other food items, edible items are grown, cornucopia is offered as a reverence, as a mark of reverence to a person who is extremely respected there, right? Or a person who is regarded there, or a deity who is revered or worshipped there, right? So it's a cornucopia. So it's a kind of cone-shaped object which is filled with all these fruit items, edible items which are grown in that area, offered as a mark of abundance, so that next year also they have enough supply of these food items. So as a mark of gratitude, it is offered to the deity who is worshipped or the person who is extremely regarded in that area, right? So a lot of Western countries, especially in rural part, this custom is still observed, all right? So with that cornucopia, the word is used for anything which is full of abundance, right? Look at the sentences. The table held a veritable cornucopia of every kind of food or drink you could want. So on the table which was laid down, every kind of food items that you desired or you could think of was offered, right? So the cornucopia of food items, cornucopia of food and drink was offered on the dining table, all right? Of course, there was the cornucopia of the ice machine, which discharged a torrent of pure, perfect cubes at the touch of a button. Right? So when you touch a button, this machine is so sophisticated. At the touch of a button, you are going to have an abundant supply of ice cubes. Right? So cornucopia of ice cubes. So instead of using, because it's used for food items, right? So ice cubes are going to be used for drinking. So here cornucopia. So perfectly replacing word of abundance, right? Something that is or contain a large supply of good things, right? So now another meaning of this word is when you use this word for inner supply of something else, right? So the book is a cornucopia of good thoughts. That means this book contains a lot of good, innovative thoughts, right? So it's a source of a lot of numerous good thoughts. So cornucopia. So with this word, the author has tried to beautify the sentence, right? So instead of saying it has a lot of good thoughts, it has used this word cornucopia. So it pictures, the sense in your mind. It actually creates a sense in your mind that it is full of those ideas. Howard has produced a cornucopia of leaders for the United States in many fields. Now, again, see this with the sentence. He could have used numerous, he could have used many, he could have used plentiful, right? But he used this word. So, in order to give you an image, in order to give you a kind of association, right? So, cornucopia is good harvest, right? So, here, Howard, a place which is known for academic excellence, has produced a lot of people, a lot of leaders who are thought leaders, who are who are innovative in their in different fields. So cornucopia of leaders, right? So those people who created, who were pioneer, and in different fields in the United States. That way you can understand this word coming for abundance of something. All right. So cornucopia coming for food, but also applicable in different contexts. Okay, so you can see the picture and understand, and if I want you to explain this picture to me, you would say that she's trying to enjoy what she's eating, right? So she has a spoon on her hand and she has just eaten something because she seems to be mouthful of something. She's closing her eyes and she's trying to relish what she's eating, right? So this state or this expression can be perfectly summed up by word savor. She's savoring what she's eating. She has just consumed possibly a rasgulla or something which is dessert, any dessert, and she's trying to savor that, right? So savor something is to enjoy the full taste of something. When you savor something, you try take delight in what you are doing, what you are eating. All right, so especially by eating or drinking it slowly. So look at the way she's eating it, right? She's not gulping it, right? But rather she's eating bit by bit in order to enjoy it thoroughly. So relish is another word. He ate his meal slowly, savoring every mouthful, right? So this picture is also explaining what savor is, right? She savored the smell of freshly made coffee. So she did not gulp it at one go, right? She did not drink that cup of coffee, but rather she took sip of in order to enjoy the freshly made coffee. To possess a particular taste or smell or a distinctive quality, that is also savor, right? I wanted to savor every moment. So here when you talk about this word about enjoying anything, right? So you can use this word for relishing other experiences as well, other than food or drink. I wanted to savor every moment. I wanted to take a pause and savor the success I had gained after such a long time, right? I wanted to savor my success. That means I wanted to enjoy the success I had gained. He sat for a few moments, savoring the moment to the full, right? So he was beholding the scene, or he was looking at his surrounding, savoring the moment. That means he didn't want to rush, he didn't want to do anything in haste, but he was there, he was taking a pause in order to savor his environment, right? So here, savor is to enjoy. An opportunity to savor the delights of snowboarding, all right? So savor, that means enjoy something. So though the word comes for food and drink, but can also be used for enjoying, taking delight, or relishing other things. All right? Okay. So you can see this kind of picture or this kind of scene at every nook and corner of Indian towns. So you see a girl having a mouthful of golgappa or having a mouthful of chaat, right? So mouthful is an amount of food or drink that you put in your mouth at one time, right? So that is mouthful. She took a mouthful of water. She filled her mouth with water, enough water. Thank you, but I cannot eat another mouthful. So I cannot have another piece of it. He talked eagerly between mouthfuls of salad, right? She was eating, her mouth was full, and same time she was talking. So this is also another common sight when we have dinner and dinner table. So we talk to each other. Some people have mouthfuls, and then simultaneously they talk, right? So that way mouthfuls. So you can see here she was in a good mood the next day, humming through a mouthful of cornflakes while eating breakfast. She was in a good mood. She was eating. She was mouthful of those cereal and she was humming, right? So with that, I inferred she was in a good mood, right? He put the cup to his lips and swallowed a mouthful of surprisingly palatable coffee, right? So see palatable coming here. Okay, we did delectable. So palatable is another word for something which is delicious, right? So palate is the part of your mouth where taste buds are there, right? So when you get to see something sour, or when you get to taste something sweet, or when you see something tangy, right? Or bitter. So you can understand, you can perceive these tastes by the taste buds, right? So the taste buds are there in the palate of your mouth, right? So from that only palatable has come, right? So palatable is same as delectable, right? So palatable coffee, palatable chocolates, palatable cake, palatable Indian cuisine, right? So palatable, delectable. A lot of words. I have given you a lot of words for replacing delicious from your vocabulary, right? So you have scrumptious, you have spoonful, you have delectable, now you have palatable, right? So 4 synonyms, right? So start giving compliments to every person who cooks for you, or if you cook, then start praising yourself also, right? So here he put the coffee to his lips and swallowed a mouthful of surprisingly palatable coffee. All right. Now see now another meaning of mouthful here. So one, the picture itself clarifies what it means. Next sentence. So a word or a phrase that is long and complicated to pronounce, that is also a mouthful, right? So when we were very young, we would challenge each other to say Czechoslovakia or hippopotamus, right? Because they were mouthful words, right? I hope you must have done it with your friends also, or with your classmates when you were young. So we challenge each other that if you are able to say this at one go without slipping your tongue, you will be given this, right? So that way, that was a fun for all of us. So mouthful, because these words were difficult to pronounce, right? Or tongue twisters, they are also mouthful, right? So when tongue twisters are used to better your pronunciation, right? So in order to clarify your pronunciation, you actually use these tongue twisters, right? So mouthful can also be used for those tongue twisters. So here my names, you can call me Zach if it is too much of a mouthful. So whatever his name is, he's asking other people to call him Zach if they find his name to be mouthful. All right. Dr. Solomon's antivirus toolkit for Windows. What a mouthful. So that way, what a difficult word to pronounce. Now, mouthful has third meaning as well, right? I hope it's not too much for you to take in at one go, but since the word is easy, mouthful, right? So mouthful is very clearly, be used for this because it is self-explanatory, right? You don't need to remember this meaning of word. When your mouth is full, it's mouthful. Another meaning is when you are difficult, when you find something difficult to pronounce. So that's also related with mouth. So you can, understand the meaning or you can remember the meaning. Third meaning is a tirade of abusive language. When you use abusive language to chastise someone, to scold someone, that is also mouthful, right? So using abusive language to name calling is mouthful, especially in the term give someone a mouthful, right? So a lot of people have given him a mouthful for committing that heinous crime, right? So he has been abused by a lot of people, right? So he has been given a mouthful by a lot of family members because he went bankrupt. So that way you can understand the meaning of this word. So this word has three meaning. One, for filling your mouth with edible items. Second, finding something difficult to pronounce. Third is using abusive language. All right. So here I come to today's session, end of today's session. Very quickly, let's revise all the words so that they are clear in your memory, they are entrenched in your memory, and you don't find it difficult to recall them. So condiments are those small items, small ingredients or spices, sauces which are added into food items to make them more flavorful, to make them more delicious, right? So these condiments, whenever you go to a restaurant, you are offered those condiments which are always there on the table, right? So when you eat Chinese, the condiments of sauces. When you eat in Domino's or McDonald's, you are given those small sachet of condiments which have different spices, right? So instead of calling them spices, call them condiments, right? So use this word so that you become comfortable. Succulent is anything which is juicy, right? So when you see that advert of juicy drinks or juicy beverages like fruity or maza, those adverts where they are shown eating as if they are eating from, they are drinking from a mango, right? Not from bottle but from mango, because mango is succulent, right? Succulent is full of juice, juicy. Same is luscious, right? So luscious is also used for succulent. Both are synonymous. Something which is pleasantly sweet, contain a lot of juice. Delectable, scrumptious, toothsome, and palatable. 4 words for anything which is delicious. Anything, whichever thing you eat, if you find it delicious, if you find it savory, you can call it delectable, right? So don't confine this word for academic vocabulary. Don't confine this word for those things which you're going to eat in a restaurant, right? So something which is served by your mother, garnished well, presented well, you can still find, you can call it delectable item, right? So delectable dal chawal, because it was very delicious, right? So start using this word in your active vocabulary. Gourmet is a chef or a person who knows a lot about food and drink, right? Gourmet is also a kind of food which is very expensive but same time extremely tasty, right? Food which is of high quality. Epicure is a person who enjoys food and drink of high quality and knows a lot about it. Epicure can also be used for a person who knows a lot about a form of art, different forms of art, right? So epicure of Italian painting, epicure of Indian cinema, right? So unlike you and me who follow Indian cinema for entertainment, for recreation, there are some kind of people, there are a set of people who do it as aficionado. They are ardent follower of Indian cinema. They know a lot of things about Indian cinema, right? So they are epicure, right? So any person who knows in great detail about a certain thing, certain form of art can be an epicure, or he has an Epicurean taste, right? Gourmet, food. Gourmand, entirely different from gourmet. Gourmet is selective because he has fascination for high quality food. He indulges in high quality food. especially food which is very good and expensive. So gourmet is very selective, very exclusive, very picky when it comes to his food items, whereas gourmet is an intemperate desire to have food. He doesn't restrain himself when it comes to have food. Alright? So gourmet is just opposite of gourmet. Glutton, greed, right? Greediness for food, voraciousness for food, right? So when you cannot control your hunger, when you cannot control your desire to have food, and you usually end up having excessive amount of food, so that is glutton. So glutton, gluttony. So gluttony can also be used for any kind of greed. So gluttony for power, gluttony for money, gluttony for fame and name. All right. This word synonymous with epicure, right? As epicure has good taste of food and wine and other forms of art, so has connoisseur, right? So connoisseur, when you call somebody a connoisseur, that means the person has deep understanding of food and wine and other forms of art, right? So be very particular when you call somebody a connoisseur. Okay, so the word is tangy, having a strong, sharp taste or smell. The smell which comes from lemon, or the smell and the taste which comes from citric food, right? So that way you can understand tangy. Toothsome, anything again which is tasty, right? So toothsome, delectable and savory, all these words which we use for tasty. Assuage, when you assuage your hunger, you try to lessen the intensity of this biological desire, right? So you have a biological desire to consume something because you are starving, you eat something. So you eat something, you assuage your hunger, right? This is also used for lessening any other feeling or any other intense desire, like fear, like apprehension, like doubt, right? To assuage people's doubt. Quench is used for thirst. So you lessen your thirst by drinking water, you quench you subdue your thirst, that means you drink water, right? Second meaning is to suppress something, किसी चीज को दबाने की कोशिश करना, right? Oppress, suppress, quell something is to quench, right? Third meaning of quench is to extinguish a fire, all right? So three meaning of this word. Cornucopia, from that hollow horn which is filled with food items, the word comes for abundant supply of something. When you have glut of something, you call cornucopia. Second, when you have too much of something, that's also cornucopia, right? So Harvard has produced cornucopia of leaders across the world. That means a lot of leaders were taught and educated in Harvard, all right? Savor is to enjoy something, relish something, especially food and other items, but same time savor can also be used for enjoying anything, right? So savoring the scenery, beautiful scenery of Kashmir. So that way you are not eating anything, but rather you are enjoying your surrounding. You are enjoying the beautiful surrounding you are in, right? So that is also used for savoring. I'm savoring the best phase of my life. That means after a lot of hard work, after a lot of hardship and challenges, now I'm possibly at a comfortable place, right? So I'm savoring this phase of my life, right? So I'm enjoying this phase of my life. Other than using this word for food and drink, this is also used for enjoying something, relishing something. Mouthful, I possibly have taken the perfect picture of, a girl who is having a mouthful of golgappa, right? Pani puri. So that means usually when you have a pani puri, you are mouthful with that because you cannot eat anything simultaneously having a pani puri, right? So mouthful, when your mouth is full with something. Second, mouthful also means to use an abusive language. Third meaning is when you find something difficult to pronounce. All right? Keep revising these words and stay tuned on this channel for more such videos for vocabulary building as well as other important strategies and tips video for your CAT preparation and other management exam preparation. All right? Thank you very much.